Friends and viewers, Charles Dickens, the famous writer of Oliver Twist, David Copperfield, Great Expectation, The Tale of Two Cities, and many more novels. So this is today which I'm going to discussing with you about the same is Nicholas Nickleby. The name of this novel is Nicholas Nickleby. It is a third novel. It is published in 1839 by Dickens. So Nicholas Nickleby, this is Charles Dickens is, as all of you is known that he was a Victorian writer. This is the third novel, Nicholas Nickleby, published through serialization in 1838. It first appeared in its novel form in 1839. The novel has been adopted for the stage and for screen purpose several times. The first theatrical version appearing in 1838 before the novel was even finished. So Dickens wrote Nicholas Nickleby with the intention of exposing the purpose of writing this novel by Dickens is to expose the pro-profit boarding school in England. It focused on tutelar hero Nicholas Dickens' novel explored the dangers of greed in this novel, the sublimity of family, and the central importance of maintaining one's ethical values. So, Nicholas Nickleby's father dies unexpectedly amidst the financial downfall. Nicholas is now responsible for the well-being of his widowed mother and his beautiful sister Kate. First, the family appeals to Nicholas' estranged uncle, Ralph. Ralph is a ruthless businessman with little compassion. He hardly registers his own brother's death and believes his in-laws to be a nuisance. He quickly finds Nicholas a job at a boarding school, Doth Boys Hall, run by a man named Mr. Squires, and finds Kate a job with the dressmaker Madame Montalini. So Nicholas is eager to prove himself capable of providing for his family, so he takes the job despite his reservation about Mr. Squire. Nicholas discovers that Doth Boys Hall takes advantage of vulnerable families by charging relatively cheap tuition. Mr. Squires hardly teach the boys anything and abuses them. The boys live in a decrepit condition while Mr. Squire and his family live in opulence. Nicholas is especially disgusted by treatment of Smike, Mr. Squire's personal servant. So Nicholas is further bothered by the intention of Mr. Squire's daughter Fanny, who fantasizes about marrying Nicholas. Through Fanny, Nicholas meets John Browdy, a jovial local man. One day, desperate to escape his abuse, Smike runs away. He is quickly found, and Mr. Squire whips him in front of the entire school to teach the boy a lesson. Nicholas reaches his breaking point while watching this abuse and snatches the whip, turning it on Mr. Squires. Nicholas then escaped the Yorkshire countryside with John Browdy's help. On his journey back to London, he discovered that Smike has followed him. Nicholas agrees to take Smike with him. Meanwhile, Kate is humiliated at Ralph's house when he invites her as the sole woman to a party of a man. Sir Melbury Hawk makes a pass at her, hurting her reputation and making her uncomfortable. Ralph has a soft spot for Kate and confront Sir Mulberry about his behavior, but does not stop him from trying to ingratiate himself. With Kate's mother, the Mantellinis go into bankruptcy and Kate loses her job. She finds a new position as a companion to an older woman, Mrs. Witterly. When Nicholas returns to London, he seeks help from Ralph's secretary, Newman Knox. Newman helps arrange for an improvised apartment for Nicholas and Smike. Nicholas believes he must explain to his uncle what happened in Yorkshire before he can reunite with his mother and sister. However, Nicholas flees London when it becomes clear that Mr. Squire will try to have him arrested. While at an inn, Nicholas meets an actor and theatre manager named Mr. Vincent Crummles. Mr. Crummles takes a liking to Nicholas and offers him a job with his theatre troupe in Portsmouth. Nicholas is well paid for this work and he enjoys the hospitality of the troupe. Nevertheless, when Newman Knox sent word that Kate needs his help, Nicholas returned to London. While waiting to reunite with his sister, Nicholas overhears Sir Mulberry denigrating Kate in a drunken conversation with other man. Nicholas confronts and badly beats Sir Mulberry. A family friend named Miss Nickleby agrees to take in Kate. Mrs. Nickleby and Nicholas, while they figure out their step next, Nicholas meets a wealthy businessman named Charles Cherrybill, who offers Nicholas a well-paid job in his firm and a charming cottage for his family. This opens a new family chapter in Nicholas' life. Kate is safe from Sir Mulberry and the whole family is together, including Smike. Nicholas' job is productive and the Cherrybill brothers are good and generous bosses. The Cherrybills financially support a young woman named Madeline Bray, who devotes herself to caring for her impoverished father. Nicholas falls in love with her at first sight, but he doesn't know who she is. Unbeknownst to Nicholas, Ralph also knows for Madeline Bray. Ralph's associate Arthur Gright is an elderly man who wants Madeline as a wife because he has illegal possession of a will that would grant her a small fortune. When Nicholas discovers the plot to marry her off, he stops the wedding. At the same moment, Madeline's father dies suddenly. Nicholas whisks Madeline away to his cottage where Kate cares for her in her grief and trauma. Ralph is incensed that Nicholas has again ruined one of his business relationships. Another blow comes when Arthur discovers that his servant Peck has stolen all Arthur's financial documents, including Madeline's will. Ralph employs Mr. Squire to help him track down the will. Newman Knox, the spy on the inside, follows Mr. Squares and captures him just as he steals Madeline's will. Mr. Squares is arrested and Madeline receives her small fortune. Meanwhile, Smike is increasingly ill. A doctor diagnoses Smike's condition as fatal. As Nicholas brings Smike to Nicholas' childhood home so he can die in peace, Kate and Charles, Cherrybill's nephew Frank, grow closer. Smike dies in Nicholas' arm and is buried under Nicholas' favorite tree. When Nicholas returns to the cottage, he and Kate agree not to act on their feeling for Madeline and Frank because they worry that the Cherrybill brother will judge them as opportunist. Newman knocks and Cherubil's seek more answer about Ralph's seedy business dealing with Mr. Squares. They track down a former adversary of Ralph, Mr. Brooker, who tells a terrible story. Mr. Brooker knew Ralph when Ralph was secretly married. Wife gave birth to a son who was also raised in secrecy and then ran off with another man. Rather than give the child to Ralph, Mr. Brooker faked the boy's death and placed him in the care of Dot's boy's Hall. This boy, whom Ralph believed to be long dead, was Smike. This revelation, coupled with news that Smike is dead, breaks Ralph. He dies by suicide. When the Cherubil brothers discover the love connection between Frank and Kate and Madeline and Nicholas, they proudly welcome Nicholas and Kate into the family. Both couples marry. They all move to the countryside together where they have children and live prosperous life. So this is the story of Nickleby by Charles Dickens. So in this story, we see in this novel, we have a theme which is focused on titular hero Nicholas. In this novel, it explored the dangers of greed, the sublimity of family, and the central importance of maintaining one's ethical value. And finally, they all lived happily ever. And this is a novel, Nickleby, written by Charles Dickens. Thank you very much for patient listening.